see you guys in the dark.
When I was younger, every year on Christmas, I would drive upstate to my aunt's house along a stretch of highway. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of this road. All I know is that it runs nearby Akron, New York, at some point. However, most of the drive is through rural areas with little to no towns nearby. So it was the dead of night, and my groggy self had gotten off a long shift and had to drag my ass to my aunt's house since my extended family was expecting me the following morning. Near halfway through the drive, I realized that I was low on gas, which irritated me. My brother told me he had filled it up the day before, so he either forgot or was straight lying. I saw an archaic-looking sign for a gas station off the next road. It was an official road sign, literally a pole with just a slab of metal attached with "gas off next exit" or something along those lines painted on it. That seemed a little sketchy, but people do the same thing with fruit stands on highways, so whatever. I pulled off the next exit on some dilapidated country-ass road through some dense woods. The whole thing was creepy and surreal. I kept expecting Leatherface to come running out of the trees with a chainsaw. Anyways, eventually I came to the gas station and realized quickly it hadn't been open for years. It was all rusted, and the convenience store's roof was caving in. The gas pumps had all been taken out as well. I pulled over next to it and checked my gauge. I could probably only make it another half a mile before running out, so I called AAA, and they said that they'd send a truck over. Now I'm just playing the waiting game. I left my engine on because when the headlights were off, everything was pitch black, and my paranoid self wasn't sitting next to an abandoned gas station in the middle of a forest in complete darkness. So most of the wait went uneventful until I sensed some movement around the side of the old store, where my lights are pointed. I look up, but didn't see anyone. So I look back down at my phone. Then over the sound of the night, I hear someone yell, "Hey buddy, come here," in a very demanding tone. I look up, and I shit you not, there's a dude standing by the old store, looking towards me, illuminated by my headlights. He looked like a run-of-the-mill homeless guy. I was honestly spooked, and figured he must have been squatting there. Still watching him, I rolled down my window and yelled something like, "Yeah, what's up?" Still mentally crapping myself. I had my foot ready to floor it out of there at the first sign of trouble. "You got any change?" "Nah, I don't. I'm sorry, man." I look up at him. He has this kind of vacant expression and is standing stiff. Then I see more movement. There are heads, about 20 or so heads, peeking around trees behind the man that I'm talking to. I can't see them clearly at all, but they are definitely people. Literally just heads, staring in my direction from around the trees. I see another guy beginning to walk from around the gas station, and then I turn around and I sped off. I got as far away as possible to that place as my tank could carry me, and updated AAA on my location. The driver came back over and filled me up, and I didn't say anything to him. But after he left, I wanted to call the cops. So I called the nearest town sheriff department. They said that they'd send over a trooper, and I gave them the location of the gas station. When I got to my aunt's house, they called me back and said whoever was there was now gone. But they could tell a large number of people had been living there for a little while. Blankets, canned foods, the usual. The whole situation still freaks me out. But frankly, I can consider myself lucky. I'm just glad that nothing bad ever happened. Yeah, and to the creepy dudes at the gas stations. I really don't want to be near you guys ever again. One day after work, around 4 or 5 p.m., me and a girl I worked with decided to go see a movie. It was a rough shift, and her and I felt like a movie would be nice. She asked if we could stop by her house so that she could change clothes from work. I said that that's fine, since it was maybe about 5 minutes away tops. We stayed at her house for a little bit, ate a snack, then we got in my car. She asked if we could stop by the gas station by her house so that she can grab a Red Bull. Once again, I was fine with that because it was near her house. I drove to the gas station, and the only parking spot was on the side of the abandoned car wash next to the gas station. To form a better image, the gas station and car wash were right next to each other, both entrances facing the same way. It was entirely dark outside, The gas station was a fairly run-down one and didn't have any lights at the gas pumps like most do, so it was pitch black except for the light coming from my car. A semi-truck was on the side of the gas station and had cones indicating the area that would inhabit the driver to do what he needed. So I assumed the parking spots wouldn't be too close, and I parked. My friend got out and went inside. I decided to stay in the car, since she would only be a few minutes. I locked my doors after she got out, as it was a force of habit to do so. I went on my phone for a little bit, and after a couple of minutes, I saw a light flash in the driver's side mirror of my car. I turned to look, since it was pointed in my direction. The truck driver had a flashlight pointed at my window and just held it there for a few seconds, maybe 20 or so seconds at most. I was pretty freaked out, but assumed he had a reason for doing so. He then began walking towards my window, still with the flashlight on. I rolled down my window no more than an inch, assuming maybe he was just going to tell me to move my car. He stopped when he got 2 to 3 feet away from my window, then turned around. At this point, I was pretty scared, just because there was no reason for what he did, so I just rolled my window back up and waited for my friend. I'm still watching this guy, just in case, and I see him rummage around in the front of the semi-truck for a little bit. Then he stopped and turned back to my car. There was something in his hand now. I'm not sure what it was, and I'm glad that I don't know. He began walking towards my window. He was saying something inaudible, and it was at a rather loud volume. He got to my door this time and tried to open it. He tried to pull the handle a couple of times, but he couldn't open it. Then he started to pull more aggressively. My friend came out of the gas station, and walking towards my car, she looked scared. I was scared. The guy saw her coming to my car and walked quickly back to the truck. I drove away as quickly as possible. I'm not entirely sure what happened or what was going to happen. The only theory my friend had was that maybe he saw that I was a girl, the first time that he had the flashlight on at least. He assumed that I'd be a good target to kidnap or put into sex trafficking. That's just a theory, though. I'm glad that I don't ever have to find out what he was doing. Like many teenagers, my friends and I engaged in many activities that leave us shaking our heads in embarrassment as adults. Nothing intentionally malicious, but undoubtedly stupid and reckless. One of these activities was routing. We would drive to rural roads outside of town where we wouldn't see anyone, listen to music, and then smoke weed. It was moronic and dangerous, I know, but being young and stupid, we always enjoyed listening to new music and having a few laughs. One late night after we finished our route, we pulled into a gas station to grab snacks and fill up the tank. Nothing appears amiss when we leave, but I quickly notice there is now a man on a motorcycle behind us. It was a crotch rocket. At first I think nothing of it, but I found it strange that he wasn't passing us, given it was just a 2-lane highway and there was no one else on the road. After a while, I start noticing he is appearing to make hand gestures towards our car, and I'm starting to get a little concerned. But because we are moving, I can't make out the gestures that he is making. I alert my 2 friends, Rob and Mike, of the situation. Rob, who was driving, calmly responds that he noticed the man on the crotch rocket as well, and he thinks that he is following us. The man on the crotch rocket was also wearing a helmet, so we couldn't actually see his face at all. To test our hypothesis, we start turning into different neighborhoods, and sure enough, he keeps following us. This is when it gets unnerving. We had to stop numerous times to stoplights and stop signs because, frankly, we were riding dirty and didn't want to get pulled over. We'd be safe, but in a different kind of trouble. Every time we would stop, he would make hand gestures again. At first, the man on the crotch rocket would just stare at us and point. Then it was pointing at us and sliding his finger across his throat. Then it was pointing at us and acting like he was shooting us one by one. We debated confronting him, but my fear was if he had a gun, we wouldn't stand a chance. We also debated calling the cops, but as stated earlier, we didn't want to get in trouble for our own activities. Eventually, we decided to take him through the worst part of a nearby city, and it's a bad place to be. After a few blocks, he finally broke away. The whole ordeal likely lasted just under an hour. To this day, we are not entirely sure why he decided to harass 3 athletic men, but we do know that he wouldn't do so if he wasn't up to the fight, which was a scary realization. So, the man on the crotch rocket, hopefully you won't be following me anytime soon. I hate getting gas at night. I have learned to avoid it, as I have had some strange encounters that have left me feeling uncomfortable, but none as bad as this one. I had just picked up my sister from college, and we got on the way to the highway to get home. My gas light came on. It was getting pretty dark. I kicked myself for not getting gas sooner, but it made me feel safer that I had my sister with me. So I get off the highway and pull into the closest gas station that I can find. It was completely empty. I had just put the pump in my car when I heard, "Hey, sweetheart, you from around here?" I jumped. This man had seemed to appear out of thin air. He was tall, older, and disheveled. His clothes were baggy and twisted. Immediately I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions or be rude, so I answered with a vague answer, "Yeah, kinda." He started asking me more questions, taking a step closer to me with each question. He was rattling them off so quickly I didn't have time to answer them. The questions were getting more and more personal, and he was getting closer and closer. I was getting increasingly uncomfortable. Then finally he asked, "Are you married?" For context, I'm 23, but I've been told that I still look like a teenager. This question obviously took me by surprise. I didn't know how to answer him, so I just looked away. The man cleared his throat. "Miss," I said. "Excuse me, are you married?" Now he was within touching distance of me. It finally clicked what he was doing, trying to see if there was anyone who would look for me if I disappeared. This realization sent shivers down my spine. I shouted at him, "Get away from me!" Startled, he jumped back and said, "You ungrateful, entitled bitch," and kept cursing at me as he walked away. It took me about 30 minutes to stop shaking. I'm definitely glad that this guy didn't try anything while I was at the gas station. So one day, about 2 years ago, I was at my house with my younger sister and our friend. We were about 20 to 21 years old and all female. We were hungry and decided to go out and get some sushi. On the way to the restaurant, I noticed that I was low on gas, so I stopped to go get some. I pulled up to the pump and parked my car. I went to the gas station to pay while my sister and our friend waited in the car. As I was walking across the parking lot into the store, I noticed a man staring at me with a creepy smirk on his face. We made eye contact, and he yelled across the parking lot, "Hey, beautiful, why aren't you smiling?" I didn't respond or even acknowledge him. However, a young woman who witnessed this said to him, "Do not tell her to smile. She doesn't have to do anything for you." To this day, I think about that woman. I thanked her and continued to walk into the store. As I stood patiently in line, the same man walked in. He came right around to me in line and started to touch me. He was rubbing my arms and lower back. I pulled away from him. I said loudly, "Get away from me. I don't even know you. Do not touch me or I will defend myself." Other customers and the cashier were watching us. I just caused a scene. He whispered in my ear and told me to shut up so people don't think that he's a creep. Suddenly, the man ran out of the store and to my car with my sister and friend still inside of it. I ran after him. He opened up the car door and started to say something to them when I yanked him back so hard from his shirt collar and punched him in his face. He proceeded to call me a bitch and every other name in the book. But he just left us alone and got in his car and drove away. I'm definitely much more aware of my surroundings now. But to the creep at the gas station, you better not try that shit ever again. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.